Song and dance. Song and dance is a musical comprising two acts, one told entirely in song and one entirely in dance, tied together by a unifying love story. The song act is Tell Me on a Sunday, with lyrics by Don Black and music by Andrew Lloyd Webber, about a young British woman's romantic misadventures in New York City and Hollywood. The dance act is a ballet choreographed to variations composed by Andrew Lloyd Webber for his cellist brother Julian, which is based on the A minor Caprice No. 24 by Paganini. Background: the song portion was written specifically for Marty Webb and presented at the Sydmonton Festival in the summer of 1979. It was subsequently recorded and aired as a one-hour television special by the BBC the following January. The dance portion was recorded in 1978 and nearly became incorporated into Cats. The opening sequence was utilized as the theme music for London Weekend Television's South Bank show. Producer Cameron McIntosh proposed that the two pieces be combined under the umbrella title Song and Dance to acknowledge the primary aspect of each act, billing the piece as a concert for the theater. Black altered some of the songs from the original album and worked with Lloyd Webber on new material, The Last Man in My Life, I Love New York, and Married Man, the latter set to the same tune as Sheldon Bloom. A new orchestration of the variations for a 16-piece theatre orchestra was produced from the original symphonic version played by the London Philharmonic Orchestra, but Harry Rabinowitz retained the baton for the stage performance. When You Want to Fall in Love, with a tune previously released by Marty Webb and Justin Hayward as Unexpected Song, which itself was later added to the score, was used at the climax of the dance section to meld the two halves. Productions: 1982 London. The musical had its world premiere on March 26, 1982 at the Palace Theatre, where it ran for 781 performances. With direction by Tom Gutteridge, Marty Webb performed the song half. She subsequently was succeeded by Gemma Craven, Lulu, and Lise Robertson. Carol Nielsen, Webb's original understudy, took over the role with 2-hour notice when Lulu damaged her voice after a fold-back monitor failed during a performance. The dance portion was choreographed by Anthony Van Lost and featured Wayne Sleep and Jane Darling. The original recording of the London production was made live on the opening night using a recording studio then built into the Palace Theatre. The album was produced by Martin Levin, who also designed the sound system for the show. Soon after the production closed, the show was filmed for a television broadcast, with Sarah Brightman and Wayne Sleep in the lead roles. 1983 Australia. The Australian production of the musical opened at the Theatre Royal in Sydney on 4 August 1983. It featured Gay McFarlane and John Meehan in the leading roles. 1985 Broadway. In anticipation of a Broadway run, director and lyricist Richard Maltby Jr. was approached to adapt the first act for an American audience. The Broadway production, choreographed by Peter Martins, opened on September 18, 1985 at the Royal Theatre, conducted by John Mossery, and closed on November 8, 1986, after 474 performances and 17 previews. Bernadette Peters starred in song for nearly 13 months. She was succeeded by Betty Buckley for the final 4 weeks. Dance featured Christopher Damboise and Greg Burge. Amongst the many changes to the show, the characters were all given names, with the girl now known as Emma. Singer-songwriter Melissa Manchester starred in a subsequent 6-month U.S. national tour of the show in 1987, starting in Dallas, Texas and ending in Tampa, Florida. The Broadway production received 8 Tony Award nominations, with Peters winning the award for Best Actress in a Musical. The recording of the Broadway production, featuring Peters in the entire first act, but not the music from second act, was released in 1985 by RCA Victor. Synopsis: song focuses on an English girl who has recently arrived in New York. Following an argument with her boyfriend, they decide to break up. She writes to her mother in England about what happened, and that she has met a new man, Hollywood producer Sheldon Bloom, with whom she travels to California. She eventually realizes that Sheldon has only been using her as a trophy, and she ends things once and for all. The woman returns to New York, disappointed, and meets a younger man who she finds more fulfilling. When he has to leave on a business trip, the woman can't bear to let him go. Her friend later comes over to tell her about the man's infidelity, and she asks him for the truth. Depressed, the woman walks through the city streets. She meets a married man and reflects on whether their affair is wrong. The married man comes by to confess his love, however, she realizes that she has been using him. In the end, she decides that it wasn't the end of the world to have no one. Dance explores the story of the younger man, his various relationships, and his commitment issues. At the end, the man sees the woman, and they make up, joining both at last in song and dance. Musical numbers. Soundtrack. The London cast released an album on Polydor Records. 2,683,087. Charts. Critical reception. Reviewing the London production, the Financial Times theater critic Michael Coveney claimed, in Frank Rich's New York Times review of the Broadway production, he wrote, "Miss Peters is more than talented. As an actress, singer, comedian, and all-around warming presence, she has no peer in the musical theater right now. In her half of song and dance, she works so hard you'd think she were pleading for mercy before a firing squad. Yet." Awards and nominations. Original London production. Original Broadway production.